genuinely, Josh is constantly striving to be able to improve, make sure that our program, the operations of it, and everything that we have to kind of factor in and implement within our pay improves every year. And there's always changes. Every year there's changes. And I say this every year, so I'm sure you've all heard it before, but we embrace the change. We know that there's some aspect of our compensation, our product, or whatever, that maybe is going to be more difficult in the coming year. Every year there will be an aspect of it. But with every hurdle that we have, there's always an opportunity. And an opportunity to make more money, to have more success. And I think that Josh has always done that, and has done that with this pay. I mean, I can't tell you how many hours of meetings I've been in with him talking about this and making sure that our pay goes up. Our pay on current trends, this is not just on what we already do, what our past has shown, our reps will be paid 13%. 13% more per account, per install next year with the changes that Josh has worked out, while still solving for some of these other factors that we deal with in the economy, which is incredible to pull that off and get that done. So one more time, give a round of applause for Josh. We showed the track record, so don't get bogged down on anything. Anything negative, the overall is going up. We showed the track record for that, it's going to do that. So the lighting is incredible, by the way, as well. I saw that when I went into the Innovation Center. That's going to be a game changer for sure. So, all right, our next presentation is Evan Pack. Is Evan Pack in here? Raise your hand for me so I know I can see you.
Over on your left.
Over here, okay. Evan Pack was over at Vivint Solar, and I'm going to let him tell his story. I'm really excited for him to come up and talk to us. But he's over at Vivint Solar, and Vivint ended up, when David Bywater came over, he worked closely with Bywater over there. When David Bywater came over, he asked them to come over and run our solar program, and it has been just completely night and day for the company. I mean, it's been night and day since he's been here. The changes he's been able to implement have been incredible. And today, we've asked Evan to come talk to us about, well, actually, I'm not even going to talk about what your training is on. I'm excited for it. So, but let's give a big round of applause for Evan Pack.
All right, I'm going to jump up here like Josh. So I want to echo what Cheyenne said. If you don't love Josh Crittenden, you should. If you don't know him, you should. I've been in so many meetings with him, and the amount of times he goes to bat for every one of you is amazing. It's second to none. When I was over at the sister company, Vivint Solar, I negotiated against Josh. That was not my favorite time. He kicked my butt. Same thing with Todd Santiago. Those two are, anyway, intense in that regard. Josh is phenomenal, and he has done an exceptional job. Second thing, this is an amazing conference. Let's give it up for Cheyenne and for Kevin. So I want to bring that up because I did my own slides. These are not a reflection on Kevin Swiss. I'm a one-eyed tax attorney who is repenting and recovering from tax law. So these were made by me. Let's chat about it. Super excited to go over Vivint Energy and the different things that we have going on. So when I was talking with Cheyenne, he just asked me, why Vivint? So just to give you a little background, about a year ago, we had different opportunities, no different than you guys, right? We have different people you go sell for or work for. I'd left Vivint Solar, I'd been there for about 8 years. Then we had the Sunrun acquisition, it was a lot of fun. They asked me to stay on, but I decided to go do something different. I went to a grocery store chain, bagging groceries, true story, loved it. It was a lot of fun doing those things and running their accounting, and Bywater reached out. So about that time, he was talking about something that Josh had created, which is Vivint Energy, which is the third iteration of solar for those who've been around. There was Vivint Solar, started in 2011. Then there was Vivint Plus, when Solar City imploded in 2016, and it came over. And then you had Vivint Energy that was started about a year and a half ago. So David was talking about this different program. At the same time, Sunrun had reached out. And they asked me if I was willing to come over to be the COO over there, and a couple of different private equity firms and things that were looking for it. But there was a reason why I wanted to go to Vivint, and I think that's what I really want to talk about today. So we're thinking about the different opportunities that we have within the solar space. There's a couple of problems when you look at solar. So I know a lot of you guys are within smart home, but this is something to be aware of. There's two main problems. Number one is the realization rate. Any guesses for how many accounts 50%. It's crazy. So you go knock, you work your butt off, you get 10 people to sign up, half of them don't make it because it takes so freaking long, and there's a lot of different problems that occur there. The second problem, differentiation. This is something we're going to talk about today. Everyone uses the same stuff, same modules, same racking, same inverters. There's nothing that changes in between it, so it's one of the things to go over. With the solar realization rate, let's talk about how expensive it is, because Josh brought this up a little bit within the smart home space. Let's get real on solar. So you're saying about 45%. I rounded up to make different install companies feel better. From contract signed to install, you have about $1,000 of sunk costs. That includes your site auditor or site surveyor who drives up. That includes your permit and engineering, your structural stamp, you name it, and submitting for a permit. So for every one of those accounts, you have $1,000 that doesn't go anywhere, and it just sits and dies. And that's a major problem. So you're basically adding an additional cost on top of every one of the solar systems that you install or that you sell within the industry. And no one goes after kind of recoup these different costs. Oops, jump back. So, real quick. I gotta change all that. The other one I mentioned, everyone uses the same equipment. So when you look at a house, for those who aren't familiar, you have your solar panels. They come from China or Vietnam or different places like that. Then you look at your racking, it's the same thing, your mounting system, and then you have your inverters. You have two main ones, solar edge and end-phase. So for all of you who've been in the space for a while, you've probably seen different things, and the question comes up all the time. Okay, cool. Knowing that's the issue, why do we do Vivint? And here's the difference with Vivint. A smart home includes smart energy. This is where things are starting to change, and this is why I came over to Vivint. With every one of our solar installs, all the cool stuff that you guys have within the smart home is starting to pair within that ecosystem. We have the inverters that are going to start talking to our solar panel, or excuse me, to our smart home hub, and within the app. Because of that one change, you now have hundreds of thousands of people and customers that are looking to come in and be part of the Vivint ecosystem, because our ecosystem, our Vivint technology, is solving the main problem that they have. The other thing that's kind of interesting, is that we install the smart home because of you guys the same day you sell the solar. So what does that do for your realization rate? Increases it pretty significantly. What we're seeing right now after the first year of doing this, because of Josh's genius, is 85%. 85%. Are getting installed because they have smart home. What you guys are selling, what we have within the smart home capabilities is fundamentally shifting the industry. You now have people like Sunrun, like Freedom, like others that are knocking at the door saying, hey, we will pay you for all of your smart home to be on our solar systems because you are solving this main problem, which is the realization rate. They all want to be associated with Vivint, and it has shifted the industry to where now we're in the driver's seat. This was the vision of Josh. This is what Josh built a year and a half ago with Reno, Mitch, and others, and it's come to fruition. We saw it earlier today. Did anyone see how many megawatts, whatever what that is, sold this year by Vivint? 195. Yes. Party like rockstar. 195. We'll probably break 200 to 225. We're on a trajectory for Vivint Smart Home to be on the same side, to be the same size as Vivint Solar was at its prime. Let that sink in. Vivint Solar was just doing one thing, it was selling solar. And because of what you guys are accomplishing, and because of this ecosystem, within the first year and a half, we're about to become the same size. That's a massive opportunity and massive disruption within this space, which not only affects our stock price, like Josh and others talked about, but also is shifting the solar industry, which was a huge reason to come here. Looking at the other one, let's jump back. Josh, you gotta, where did you want to click it? There we go, okay. Here's the other thing that we're seeing with the rep pay, and for those going out right now. For those selling 10, because of that realization rate, when you have it attached, we see a much higher pull-through rate, which means you're making more money on an overall basis for your efforts. There's some things, there's been hiccups this year, as you guys probably know, with our install partners. We have overloaded them with so much volume that they're now basically asking us to go find other install partners, and we're bringing them within the fold. We're bringing them here because, again, this realization rate is so different. We need to work on that. Jess, which one is it? There we go. All right. 2 seconds and then just pray and let it go. Okay, so going back forward, you also have this ecosystem that provides the change. I mentioned before, in the next month, you have the two major manufacturers for solar that are going to be paired with Vivint. Beginning part of November, you'll now, when you knock on a door and you see solar on the top, if they're not a Vivint customer, they should be. Because when they have the Vivint system, they'll be able to see how that solar is producing. So to Josh's point, we're trying to find ways for everyone in this room to be able to sell easier, to get into the door. It doesn't matter if you're selling smart home or if you're selling solar. With this change with the inverter manufacturers, it allows you to have a talking point and also be able to sell through. It's a massive win. When we had this, we had this for a little bit over at Vivint Solar, and it disrupted ourselves going through it because of the opportunity to go knock on different doors and allow them to look at it. The other thing to look at is invitation is the highest form of flattery. If you look at the other competitors within the space, I probably should put it up here because everyone gets grouchy that I do this, but it's kind of interesting. If you look at Lumio, they're trying to become what Vivint already is. If you look at Sunrun, they made up a new word called electrification. That's kind of cool. It's essentially doing what? Trying to replicate what Vivint already has. In meeting with different executives within the industry, it's fascinating to see what they do. When they come in and they see that our customers are in our app for 13 times a day, half the time they put up their hands like we can't compete. And what they want to do at that point is they want to partner because they realize we're disrupting the solar space. That's what's happening. Within this first year, we're having different changes and different opportunities to go through that, which is a lot of fun to think about and also a big thing for us to kind of focus on as a team. So then comes the question, what else? So when Cheyenne asked, like, why else did you come to Vivint? Sure, it was fundamentally disrupting an industry. We're looking away from solar to change and kind of pull through that, but there was something more. And I think this is the real point about why people stay at Vivint, which is the secret sauce, and I want to talk about this picture real quick. So, I have 12 siblings, true story. Parents just kept having kids every year for 20 or 30 years. They didn't stop since I'm number 12 to 13. When they got to me, all the good genetics were gone, as you can see for sure. Then they saw my little brother, who's the third one on the left or right, or whatever. It was confirmed. All the genetics were gone, so they stopped. It was great. About 5 years ago, we were climbing a mountain called the Grand Teton in Wyoming. Beautiful place for those who've been able to go to it. Love to do the climb and different things there. This is the picture we took at the summit. So we just summited. You'll notice that two of my brothers, two of the older brothers, are wearing helmets. I'm on the far left with the hat, and my little brother, who looks like he's homeless, is there in the middle. We just summited, and I remember when I got up there, ooh, this thing jumps ahead. Let me get to it. Okay, so right before we started our descent, we took a picture, and this is it. This is to basically say that we got there. This is my last memory that I have. When we got up there, apparently, I was carrying all the ropes, and I tripped. And there was a rock that was about hip height. I hit my head on it because I'm a moron and not wearing a helmet. I fell. I was knocked unconscious, either ran had a seizure, and rolled off the face of the cliff. Fell about 50 feet, and thankfully there was a ledge that you guys can see here. That was where my face landed, and that's where my shoe landed. So it was supposed to be about a 1,500-foot fall, but it didn't happen that way. It was only 50 feet, and there was a rock. So this is your cliff face, this is your ledge, there's a rock like that. That ledge rock was awesome, right where that blood is. That was my face hit there, and it snapped my neck, and then it stopped me from bouncing off the cliff. A tender, undeserved mercy, I'll take it. So we're sitting up there. My brothers get an opportunity to sit there and talk through some things. They get self-service, they call 911. Anyway, long story short, for about 4 to 6 hours, we're up here on this cliff. I'm waking up from time to time, fighting with them, saying that I can walk. Helicopter comes up there, they drop a bungee cord down, and they pick me up. So that's me inside their little bungee cord thing. They just give you this kind of like coffin-looking thing. It's kind of crazy. I don't know. So then I cheated. Instead of hiking down, I took an airplane, or excuse me, a helicopter ride down. Went to the hospital, and this was my face. I wasn't born with much, guys. There wasn't much to work with in the first place, so let's not get too crazy about it. So looking at it, I was in a coma for a week. Kind of crazy. And I remember a bunch of different things as I was coming out of that coma, looking at different things. My neck was fused together, my face had a bunch of different things. There's 2 plates in there now, but at one time there's about 40 plates put in my face. You know, I tried to have them make me look like Josh Crittenden. They said they couldn't do that. It takes a resurrection. So we were working through stuff. Had to learn to walk again. Had to learn to kind of read a little bit again. I lost my entire eyesight in my left eye. It was just an interesting experience. And then, on top of it, after I'd been in the hospital for 2 weeks, I get home, and I hadn't seen my family for a long time. I have 4 little peanuts, 9 down to the age of 5. This is my youngest, Oliver. He was 6 months old, and that first night I get there, and he passes away in his sleep that night. And it was an interesting time for me. You guys are probably wondering, this is the most Debbie Downer story to talk about at a conference. I promise you there's a reason behind it. So it was interesting. I remember the funeral. I remember going to it, having an interesting experience. And it brings the question, why am I talking about this and why Vivint? Let's go back. One more. It's interesting. When I was in the coma, you can see the top left, that was David Bywater and team at Vivint Solar. They called Vivint and asked Todd Peterson for his jet so they could fly out and see my family. The sales force, you guys, same studs and women out there knocking doors. We're going to customers and doing O for Oliver or E for Evan, and you had site auditors that write my name up on their house. There's chalk all over it. We're just doing that. They reached out to my family every day. It was also kind of interesting because you can see the different things that were happening within the industry. My first real memory coming out of my coma wasn't seeing my family, because where does that sound? It was seeing 3 of my friends from Vivint Solar. Each one of my colleagues who were there. When my son Oliver passed away and I came out of the emergency room, every executive in the company was sitting there, waiting for me in the emergency room. There's something special about Vivint. What Todd Peterson has built is something that transforms what we can become. Think about this past summer, the different experiences when it was super hard, and you want to lose your mind because it's butt hot. You call them corporate; they're not as helpful as you want them to be. Probably because they don't realize that it's so freaking hot. I think of solar all the time, where it's just so hot. Anyway, you're trying different things. You may bagel that day, even though you knock for hours. But you're coming back, and there's people within your team, you have leaders who are pushing you to become better. That's what Vivint is about. That's what makes Vivint different. You wonder why our stock price is going to continue to rise? It's because of the leadership within this company. So hell yeah, when David said, come on over to Vivint, it was pretty easy to tell someone to pound sand. Tell the PE firms to pound sand, because coming back to this type of group is exactly why I came to Vivint. So my whole invitation after this is to be part of the solar disruption. What this team is doing, what Evolution is doing, is providing, yes, products and services that transform solar, but it's also the leadership within this room that is transforming what we can do and how we're able to sell to different customers. There's a lot of cool things out there. It's fun being blind in one eye. I walk into people occasionally, as weird as it sounds. Sometimes I turn left and I touch people awkwardly. Some people will grouch you, but you know what? I love it because you guys are laughing because you're like, yeah, that is kind of weird. It's fun. Vivint is that special place. So I know you guys are thinking about what you're going to do next year. I know what you guys are thinking about within the industry. You're thinking about different places. If you ever want to geek out on solar, please call me. I can talk about it all day and why Vivint is special. About the different subsidies that Vivint pays for its sales reps to make it much better to sell here. I can tell you why we have one of the fastest installation times. We're averaging 45 days, median and average from contract signed to install. That may not mean anything to anyone here. Over at Vivint Solar, our average and median cycle times were basically 90 to 120 days. So we've cut it in half because, again, of the genius of what Josh had built originally and the infrastructure that we have. I can talk about the fact that we have a pay plan and different things that incentivizes and allows reps to price below our competitors and still make top dollar on the different things they're doing. I can talk about the fact that we have solar panels and different things integrated within the system. All that's really cool. But what matters most is this team and this leadership. That's why Vivint is special. So take away whatever you will about this whole thing as we talk about it, but the one thing I want to make sure you guys know is the reason I came to Vivint is because of Josh. It's because of Todd. It's because of Shaggy. It's because of Bywater. kind of an outsider. You know, it's kind of weird to have a tax attorney up here talking. Guys, I want to talk about tax law. That's sexy too. That's pretty cool. Not everyone's cup of tea, but I think it is. But I care a lot. And I can assure you that every one of the executives cares. And so when you're thinking about different things for next year, be part of the solution. Be part of the disruption. Be part of it.